Hello and welcome to Tell Me Where I'm Going. I'm your host, Chris DeLuca, and this is the Improvised Novel Podcast. That's my new slug line, my new tag for this podcast, the Improvised Novel Podcast. Kind of gets at what this show's all about. I write a novel, but can't finish chapters, so I throw it to you, the audience, to help me. And you give me suggestions, and then vote on them, and then those suggestions, or the one suggestion that wins the vote, I write into the next chapter. It's an improvised novel. There's a give and take. There's me and you. We're all in this together, making what is admittedly an insane story. I love every moment of it. For those of you unfamiliar, the story that we are collectively telling is about the Traveling Wilburys, the insane supergroup. I shouldn't say insane. I mean, I want to qualify. They're that supergroup, the musical supergroup from the late 80s, comprising of the heroes of the boomer generation. George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, and more. This band, from what in the story that I'm telling, this band is going around solving crimes. Kind of a Scooby-Doo type of thing. I don't want to mention the competition. I take it back. It's not like Scooby-Doo. It's way cooler than that. Scooby-Doo wishes it were Tell Me Where I'm Going. Anyway, I've been trying out a little something new. And before I get to that, let me just say, I acknowledge this episode is coming out a little bit later than normal. I apologize. This is coming out on the Sunday instead of Friday, where it normally will be, and will be again. The episodes come out Friday. That's when it should be. This is an anomaly. It's supposed to come out Friday. Unfortunately, due to other circumstances, it came out Sunday. But we'll get right back on track. So I just want to acknowledge that, apologize, and also not care too much. Okay, that out of the way. This is the author update episode, which is where I tell you, where I'm going and how the writing's doing, and, kind of time in between when your suggestions come through, before the next actual story chapter where I, have written a new chapter and I'm, reading that new chapter. But what I want to address here is that this is a little bit different because I've kind of shifted things around a little bit. It used to be where I would write a story chapter and then give you guys a week to listen to it and to give suggestions and vote on your suggestions. And I'm thinking that's a little too short. It's a little too little time to digest everything. And in the preliminary results, it seems like that feeling is founded. So what I did this past time is actually put 2 weeks in between chapters. So chapter comes out, week 1, week 2, another chapter. So that gives you a whole week to listen to the episode, and then another whole week to respond and to suggest what direction the story might take. And as a reminder, you can do that on Twitter at YOUTMWIG, and you can tweet at me suggestions. Also be new methods coming to solicit suggestions, but that's I don't want to say too much yet. Just want to tease a little bit of that. You'll hear about that more soon. So, how does the schedule look? I know everyone's been just dying to know, what's the schedule? What is the schedule? And I'm going to get to the actual suggestion in a minute. I'm really burying the lead. But what's the schedule for for this show now that we're on a 2 weeks in between chapters? Well, let me tell you. First of all, we're at the last author update. There's going to be 2 author updates now in between chapter episodes. So that makes sense. We had an extra week, another author update like this one, and we'll be doing some fun stuff in these author updates as we go along. I'm going to be cooking up some interesting things to happen. What are they? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tease it. I'm going to just draw. I can't just tell you. That's not how shows work, right? This is my first show. I don't know. Anyway, point is, 2 author update episodes in between chapter episodes. That makes sense. So you'll have a week to listen to the chapter episode. You listen to the little author update to tide you over. And then you have another week after that to suggest. Now, you can start suggesting immediately. If you listen to the episode right away, you can start tweeting at me with your suggestions for the story as soon as you're done with the chapter episode and you hear the prompt and everything. That being said, if it takes a week, great. You can suggest whenever you want. But, and this is where I'm putting the schedule in. I'm actually gonna institute a cutoff. I should have done this before, but I wanted to leave things loosey goosey, hippy dippy, man. But the hippies are out. Stalin has taken over, and there's a deadline. Stalin was famous for kicking the hippies out, right? Anyway, so instituting the deadline for when you can get your submissions in. So you have 1 full week from when the chapter episode comes out, which is always a Friday, except for this one, but it's usually a Friday. Friday, the chapter episode comes out. You have a full week to listen and suggest. After that full week, you have until that Wednesday to suggest. Okay, so the following Wednesday, so that after that full week of listening and suggesting, so about a week and a half, and you can, and then once that Wednesday hits, okay, I'm going to put the poll up on Thursday, right? So get in all your suggestions that second Wednesday after the story episode drops. They'll all go in the poll, and I'm going to keep the poll. I'm going to make it 1 day. All right? And if that doesn't work, we'll tweak it. We're all in this together, all right? Yell at me if it doesn't work. But this is how I'm going to do it for now. We're going to do that Thursday. I'm going to have the poll last that entire day. Vote for your favorite. Get your friends to vote for your favorite. Get your friends to vote for yours. I don't care. Just vote. And then at the end of Thursday, then when you wake up Friday, you'll have the author episode that announces the winner. And you can also look on Twitter, obviously, but in the author update, I kind of build it out a little bit more and kind of give some context. Okay. If that's not abundantly clear, maybe I'll make a graphic. I don't know. Whatever. It's all good. We're figuring it out. Stalin style. Anyway. The moment you've all been waiting for, or the moment some of you have had enough patience to listen to this for this long for. The winning submission for telling you where I'm going for this chapter. Now, just a quick refresher on where we are in the story. The last chapter had followed the groupies who are trying to find Dixie, their lost groupie friend, and they were down in the subterranean world, and they kind of stumbled into a cave. And this was the last week was like 3-way winner craziness, and so they found like all these weird cave paintings and like this ancient evil maybe down there, and evidence of that. And they found Martin Scorsese setting traps. And the ghosts of Studio 54, like the wreckage of that. Anyway, it was nuts. Go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it. But then at the end of that, we cut away from that whole scene, and we focus back where we left the band, the Traveling Wilburys, which we hadn't seen in a whole chapter. And they had been wrapped up in this whole, cult thing in a different part of the subterranean world, along with their friend Eddie. Well, I guess he was a friend. Maybe he still is. But he's wearing cult robes now. And they're all down there, and there's Dixie on the altar. And, the cultists are doing what cultists do. They're chanting, ba-ba-da-ba. And then Dixie pops up. She was kind of strapped down and kind of passed out, but then she pops right up. And then, I didn't know what she was going to yell, and that's what I reached out to all of you to help fill in. And that's what we have a winning submission for today. Drum roll, please. I don't have a drum roll sound. Point is, the winning submission, the phrase that Dixie yells clearly is, "All right, perverts, fun's over." Wow. A lot loaded in there. So, great submission. First of all, we know her attitude, right? Dixie is vivacious. She's fiery. She's accusatory. We know her emotional state. She's thrusting outward. Maybe that's not the best phrasing, but you get it. The other thing we know is actually something about the cultists. They're perverts. I guess we could have assumed that. They're cultists. Bunch of pervs. Anyway, I don't want to get political here. Point is, we know that about the cultists now. And when I say we, I mean I do too. This is information for me to write my story. It's our story, I know. So, unless she's lying, maybe the cultists don't feel they're pervert. I don't know. Point is, I'm saying point is a lot. I don't know. I don't like it. Point is, what we're going to do is we're going to find out how this whole scene unfolds. Most of the cultists don't know that the Traveling Wilburys are there, except for Eddie Money. He's the only one. And we're going to see how they play into this whole, situation, how they can maybe bring music to bear in this kind of situation, in a kind of a crazy cult situation, and how Dixie, how she can be fleshed out and herself in this situation. We're learning more about her character as we go along. She's the kind of groupie who accuses a mob cult of perversion. So there's a lot of meat there. There's a lot of meat on that bone. Anyway, very exciting. I have no idea how this is going to turn out or how this is going to go, but I'm hard at work. I'm writing. I got Post-it notes everywhere. It's great. So, what a whirlwind. Lot going on. I think I've rambled long enough, and I think it's time to wrap this sucker up. All right. I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank you all for suggesting things and voting and doing all that great stuff. If you haven't, subscribe to this show, tell a friend, tell everyone, and keep those suggestions coming. It's keeping this story vital. All right. Take care. You've been listening to Tell Me Where I'm Going, part of the Let's Hear It network. To find out more, visit letshearit.network.